Agni Zotis here with the Educators Edition and Make Kids Transform. Today we have a friend and an educator from Argos, Greece. Her name is Maria Stathogianni. Oh, I had to check. I know the name, but I had to check. Yeah. Maria, welcome. And you teach biology mostly, that I know, but you could go in details what exactly you're doing. Thank you for being here and sharing with us. Can you please, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's great. It's so nice that we can communicate, though we're so far away. My relatives in the United States used to say that there is an ocean between us, but our hearts are very close. So I feel like that, and I would like to express my thoughts and how I teach. I don't know if I'm doing something special, but I feel every time that I get in the room, in the classroom, every time, every hour, that it's something very specific, important, unique, something that you cannot do it again for another time. You cannot copy it, even with the same students. I always say to my students that if I enter the room for another time, we will not say the same things with the same way. I'm going to use different words. I'm going to express myself differently. They are going to ask different questions. I teach biology. Sometimes I teach chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry. But I teach all specifics, all the range of biology. As you know, biology is a very big subject.
Yes, it is.
It's a huge one. It's a huge one. You can start from human anatomy of all the organisms, ecology, evolution, genetics, molecular biology. So I teach all the specific subjects of biology and biochemistry and organic chemistry. I teach for 20 years. Most of those years, I have taught students from 15 to 18.
Oh, yeah. It's a wonderful age then.
I can give more to these children.
Yes.
Because they're a step before the university. And for me, the university is the whole universe.
Yes,
I
yes.
believe that all the cultivation of mind, all the making of the character and, the mature character is happening during your years at the university. If you wish so, if you do so, if you want to do that. So I focus on the mechanisms of learning, how they have to think. I focus how they can create and use criteria, the correct criteria, so as to make decisions. It's a very good age that their crises have to develop in a high level.
What do you mean when you say their crisis?
How they can decide their decisions. It's krisi in Greek.
No, so it's I think you're talking about sorry, continue. I was going to say that it's critical thinking.
Yes, critical thinking. Yes, actually what it is, critical thinking. They learn more things. They learn actually what is really going on. They have the view of the real situation. So it's the first time in their life that they can understand and they have to deal with what's going on.
Mm.
I teach biology, so they see what is the phenomenon, how exactly it works, what are the reactions that happen even in the human body or even in the whole universe or an environment that we εξετάζουμε, that we see.
Testing. Yeah.
Yeah, that we're testing. And
Researching
researching.
the labs.
Yeah. I always say that we are in this, now we are in the classroom and we're making tests of life. Small tests.
You know, it's interesting because it's also curiosity, right? It hits
Yeah.
on curiosity. And honestly, for anything, we need curiosity if we want to be engaged. Because if we're not curious about it, then we're not.
Exactly. That's the basis of the experimentation.
Wonderful. Which it all is, honestly, because I don't even know what reality is other than experimenting and curiosity and creating, right?
The first is to observe.
Yes.
And then to make hypotheses, and then to make a test to see what's going on, and then to make another test if you have a fail or correct answer on that, and then to have to make a decision what's going on.
Yes, and because it articulates to life, right? I mean, we're talking about biology, but that articulates to everything,
To everything, yes.
right? To our relationship. Yeah.
I'm teaching them. I said, we have a problem here in Greece. If someone wants to study, I don't know, biology or to be a mechanic or I don't know, they say, I'm going to study mathematics and physics and chemistry. That's all. I said, that's not correct.
All right.
Because you have to study everything. You have to see everything. And though I teach biology, I love very much language, especially the Greek language, because you can understand a lot of the name of the structures. You can understand not only the name, but the meaning, also the meaning. What does this, how this works? What is this? So sometimes it's funny because
because a lot of the language that we use in English, let's say, it's based on Greek, and especially when it comes to biology and sciences, right?
yes, in medicine and
Medicine, especially.
so it's a little bit funny because at the beginning, at our first lessons, especially when I have the new ones, in about 15 years old, I always say, now we're gonna have biology and ancient Greek. No, we want biology, no ancient Greek. So why? We have to communicate. We have to understand. We have to understand the structures. And because the difference is so small, we have to understand the difference and to develop the criteria why this is named like that and the other name like that. So we start from the meaning, and then we see the physiology, how this works. So this is at the beginning. Then we have to decode data. The huge challenge that we have these years and in the future is that we're going to have big data processing, but we have to decode this data. There are not only statistical results. We have to understand what these numbers what these numbers have behind them.
Right.
What does it mean? There are not only numbers, especially if they have to do with phenomena or reactions. The previous years, we had a problem because most of the time, mathematicians, they just gave the results of the data that we processed. They couldn't understand which is the biological phenomenon. So they just how can I say that? They saw just a number and said, that's it. We don't know.
Right.
But
It was very separate. Where
Yeah.
they've got more merged now. Yeah, I mean that's obvious. The thing that I can't help think as you're talking about data is that AI does amazing with data. So
Yeah. Whatever we feed the AI, if we use, if we feed the AI with such information, with an information, that is going to give us. And I always say to my students, don't be afraid of the artificial intelligence. I have to tell you, I don't know if that is correct, or if we have any other information on that, or data, or researching. But as far as I know, the capacity of the human brain, this is a difficult word. I have to search it because it's peperasmeni in Greek. It's mathematics.
Peperasmeni?
Peperasmenos means with no end.
Infinite.
Yeah. That means that there are no limits of the human brain. So artificial intelligence has limits. We have to see that. It's in front of us. We're afraid of something that it's not the reality.
Personally, I'm afraid of him. I think it will replace a lot of the human mechanics that the brain does. And that's what I'm seeing. And I think it's only the beginning.
Don't face it.
We have
to deal with it.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going
We have to confront it.
Well, we actually have to use it before it uses us. I mean, we got to learn it to be able to use it. It's not really my thing, but I think it will be everybody's thing.
Have to put limits.
Well, that's not happening. Limits are not happening, right? We're got to be realistic about what's happening in the world, because it's not me making AI or you.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and there's a real race happening, and it's about domination and who has more power. So that's the bigger picture of it, right? So if we're talking about AI, that's its end process. But there's also great qualities of it, and it's not to be scared, right?
I have to tell you that the human brain has it's able to have plasticity. Can you understand this? Plasticity.
Yeah, neuroplasticity. It's what happens to our brains. Absolutely.
Yes. So if we believe in our abilities, if we believe in our brain's ability, we can understand that we can do a lot of things. I had a teacher when I was at the university who said that we use only the 15% of our brain. Sometimes I tell to my students about Robinson Crusoe, Robinsonas Crusoes. So he was in an island alone. So he was in a cave, and for a long time he didn't do anything. And one day he said, "What's going on here? I have to construct. I have to think. I have to elaborate. I have to develop things." So he get out of the cave and said, "No, I'm gonna do things." And he survived, and he saved himself. And we have to think like that. We need to survive, and we have to love it. We have to love to survive, not just, to be like a wreck and say, "I'm gonna live in that way and in that way." No, we have to love to survive.
I mean, my word for that is thrive, because I really, I
yes,
don't like, I personally dislike the idea of survival, especially when we're not doing that. If bombs are dropping on us, then we gotta survive. If that's not the case, I'm thinking about thriving.
Thrive. I agree.
And I think that's what you're talking about, really. It's like thriving, right? and utilizing the brain. I mean, I can't help think that you're talking about creating realities in another way of saying what you're saying, right? Because the brain has the ability, and that's neuroplasticity, right? The way it operates through programmings is the way it perceives reality.
Yeah, that's exactly where I agree with you, and that's why when I talk to my students and I say that we're making tests of life here, I'm trying to use charts, graphs, animations, clips, models, gamification, and I would like to talk more about that because I have worked with on of game. I use a kind of art during my classes. So, for example, when we start to study heart, we just begin with the heart that we use, this shape that we use everywhere. During our classes, during our lessons, my students transform this heart to the real heart, to this pump in the way it works in its physiology, in our body. And it's really interesting because there I see people, I see students that they're great in art. So at the beginning, I always tell them I'm gonna use just some papers, but we're gonna use for sure pen with color. Please, I need at least 4 colors that you love, that you like. And I've seen splendid things. They're great. They're very nice, and it's very creative.
So always great to make people creative, especially the young ones.
Yeah, that's great. We have 45 minutes. Our lessons are 45 minutes. So at least for a quarter, and they're 15, 18, 16, 18 years old students. I always tell them, now it's the time that you have to draw, that you can draw. And it's very nice, especially with the boys, because the boys, they're afraid to use color. So I've seen boys telling to the girls, hey, give me this pen. I need this color. One day I just heard the boy telling, do you have purple? I said, what? I need purple. It was really nice. I love that. It's a part of the lesson that I love very much.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Fortunately, the last 5 or 6 years, we're trying to introduce gamification during the lecturing or during the lessons. It's not easy. A lot of other colleagues, they believe that when we say gamification, you just play some games with the students, nothing important, nothing to help them to understand or to develop their learning mechanisms. It's not like that. Gamifications means that you use some methods, some serious games, we could say, that they will help students to understand difficult aspects, difficult subjects in an easy way.
Easy means fun, right? Because they understand that language of gamification, because most of them play games.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I have to tell you that there is a progress to the students that they have problems with games, with gaming. When I say students, I can understand that they have problems with gaming because it's the way they express. I have learned a lot of titles of games. I mean, video games, so as to understand them when they talk to each other, and I can understand when a student has a real problem. So I have seen that when I use gamification or when I use experiments with microscopy, those students are the persons that they blossom. Blossom is the correct word.
It's a correct word.
I can.
And the
sometimes
point of education.
yeah, I have my eyes wide and say, what's going on here? He didn't like biology. She didn't like biology. What happened? What's going on? It's the microscopy. I don't think so. It's the gamification. It's the way that some students, they love to learn in a more funny. It's not funny. It's more, I would say, adventurous.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's also about we all have different ways of learning, right? It's not just one way. So I think you're tapping into that idea of using different senses. We're sensorial beings, and some of us react to hearing, to vision, to different structures, right? Feeling, and none of it is wrong or right. The only wrong and right that is that education is so structured that possibly they don't want to step outside of a certain box that's been created. But, I mean, this idea you're talking about AI, gamification, we're living in a different world. So having an educational system that was created over 100 years ago, God knows how long, it's absurd.
Yeah, that's a big problem. And I face it every day.
Yeah, we're all doing schools. This is why we have this project with the Educators Edition. It's like, you're not the only one. Everybody's facing this. And it's a fine line of walking the path of how much technology, how much brain we're using, our own thought processes, what I love hearing up to now in this discussion is that curiosity, engagement, right? Because that's what gamification does. It engages, right?
And challenges.
It challenges. You go in. You're inside a world instead of being outside and just sitting there and like listening and bored to sleep, right? Because the brain does shut down when it's not engaged.
Something that I have observed, and I don't like, especially at the Greek school, I don't know the curriculum at the other schools, though I had made a project a few years ago, 10, I think, that we tried to communicate with to contact to some schools in United States and in diaspora. It was in Germany and other schools to see how is the curriculum, everything. And not only the subjects, but the time curriculum also.
It's the
And
same.
I would say that we have very small time breaks in Greece.
It's the same.
It's 5 and 10 minutes time breaks.
I don't even know if they have that much. It's gone from one classroom to the other.
That's ridiculous, as you can understand.
Well, obviously. I mean, there's like
It is
with
ridiculous to take the
education.
minds too.
Yeah.
You need time to set. I
Well, we
think
know through science, we know how we all learn, kids and adults, right? There's like small increments and then the mind has to rest. And it's in that resting period, right? This is Andrew Huberman out of Stanford, actually, that has a wonderful podcast on this. That's quite mind-blowing because they found that after doing a really hard course or learning something, and this is for PhD students, or I think it applies to babies, It's like if you nap or rest or do something, go for a walk, your brain actually integrates it.
yeah, this is a problem, and I don't know how we're gonna change it, and we need it because there is a big difference with the previous years. We have big data. We have a lot of information, and we have to deal with that information. We don't need now to learn all this information. We have to learn how to deal with this information.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we need time. We need time. Sometimes I see to our curriculum or to my daughter's curriculum. My little one, she's a 6-year-old girl, and I see that every day they learn something new and new and new and more difficult. Just they need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to elaborate it.
Yeah.
It's so easy. They press the children very much with all strict curriculums.
I mean, we're living in an area, Maria, that it's over information. We're not lacking information. We actually have over information.
Yes,
And I think, and I think what you're pointing at is very important. That's in all of us, right? Because we're all like get hooked into this world where our attention span is like seconds. I see it in myself, right? It's like next thing, the scrolling is conditioning our brains in such a way that the time aspect and contemplation is a luxury, honestly.
Yeah, our thinking is scattered.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
And it's very painful, actually, because it takes a massive toll with anxiety, with out of control, with not being able to contemplate, not enough time to think.
And we always feel that we are fatigued.
Yes, because we are.
Yes, we are.
We are. The brain uses an immense amount of energy. I mean, it's the smallest part of our bodies, but it uses, I think it's like 25%, right, of the whole energy system. So it's quite extraordinary that we're all sitting there scrolling. I know it from myself. I mean, it's not even a thought, and I think we all know that. Anybody that's engaged online is, and I think it's going to get worse.
You brought me in mind something that I wanted to mention. We always talking about sustainability. And we have in mind that sustainability is about environment. Sustainability has to do at the beginning from the person.
Of course. We are part of the environment.
We're part of the environment, of course.
Biggest issue, Maria, all this BS that they're giving us, it's like, yeah, but the person is the alien that just arrived on the earth.
And what is in the center of sustainability? What is the thing that we're focused on? It's how to use the energy.
Yeah.
And this is something that we haven't taken it seriously. We haven't. How to use the energy in our body, how to use the energy environmentally, because the energy makes cycles, but we haven't understood how is this important for life.
Yes, it's very important because that's what it's about.
I focus on my students.
I think it's phenomenal.
Yes, because they cannot understand that, now we have a lot of energy in all kinds. I don't mean only our inner energy, the biochemistry part, but I mean all the kinds of energy. We have to understand that energy is a flow. That energy is everywhere. And we have to understand how we're gonna use it, in which ways, and how long, and why. I always say there is a big why. Why we have to do that? Why we have to use so much energy for something? For example, we have our mobiles. How much energy we use for recharging our mobile phones? It's too much. Why? We have to communicate. I say that to the students. They don't need their devices like an adult that can use the device, for her job or for other reasons. They're just sending messages all the time, and then they're recharging and recharging and recharging. I don't know. I cannot find how this is useful for them.
It's not, honey. It's destroying our brains. That's what it does. There's incredible science behind it that's telling us. It's not an accident that the whole world is depressed and suffering from anxiety. It didn't just come out of nowhere. We're living in the most abundant world that the earth has ever been on. And yeah, we could all complain about this and that, but the reality is that. And yet, we're the most unhappy. Yet, suicide is on the rise. Anxiety is on the rise. And instead of understanding the idea of energy, it's like, yeah, like big pharma is going to come in and save us with their pills. And that's not just kids, by the way. That's everybody. So we're living in a very tricky world that needs to be navigated. And I'm really glad that you are teaching your students about energy, because that's what it's about. And either you're 14, 5, 55, 75, it's all about use of energy.
I agree. I agree totally. And we have to believe in that.
Well, it's not even believe, it's kind of the way it is, right? Because once we have a belief system, then it's creating, everybody can have belief systems, but I do believe that there's certain truths that are universal.
Yeah, but you have to follow them.
You got to be exposed to them.
Yes.
Somebody has to tell you, although it's common sense. It's like gravity. Yeah, that is a common law. Like, it's not, I believe. No, it's a reality out there. Because there's few set realities, I believe.
Yeah, we're free.
Thank God.
We have to say free. We're free. That's why I believe that interdisciplinary projects are very useful to the students, because on the one hand, you have science that, it says, this is the truth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have philosophy, you have literature.
Wait a minute. Sorry to interrupt you. We're going to continue on this, but you said something about science. The thing about science that's great is that it's always evolving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taught like but we hear a lot about follow the science, and it's like, which science?
Because that's a very big deal that you're talking about.
Okay, so it's not one science.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to check what that.
You had to do that. It was great that you told that, because that's a great difference. Because students, they don't like science because it's not real science.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, to make experiments and to talk on them, and you have to know very well your subject. It's difficult. It's not easy to make an experiment, and you have to be prepared to face the experiment, because you don't know what is going to happen there. It's an experiment.
Yeah, and move past your belief system, right? Because our belief system, it's like, everything is pointing the other way. Well, I believe this, I'm going that way.
I have to tell you something else, because I love very much my science. I love biology. I love experiments. Actually, I worked as an biologist in a laboratory for some years, and I was working on Alzheimer's disease. So I have made a lot of experiments, and I love very much working on bench. This is a phrase that we use, the biologists, that we work on benches. You have your experiments and you are there and you see the truth. You see what you are doing with your hands. You feel creative. You see the phenomenon. And this is something splendid. The first time that I isolated DNA, but before that, I have made some other experiments. I had inserted some other DNAs there and something I have done. I was so excited and said, wow, this is something creative. I have made something. I have used my hand. I have used my brain. I have used my knowledge, and I have something in my hands. And that was great for me. And that's why I admire very much you artists, because you are making something. You have something in your hands that it's full of creativity. We have a lack of creativity nowadays. We cannot see the beauty. I don't know what has happened. I have to use a Greek word.
Please.
Cosmos, the whole word, cosmos, means cosmema, ornament. So that means that it's something very beautiful.
Is that so?
Yes.
I didn't know that, Ruth.
Yeah, that's why we say cosmos. Cosmos means cosmema, stolidi.
Who is that?
Alone. It's full of beauty. We cannot see the beauty. And when you have, even if you are in a laboratory and you're making experiments, you can see the beauty of life. You can see the evolution. You can see how the one reaction goes to the other. You can see the chain. You can see the cycles of life. You can see life.
Yes, which is very alive.
Yeah, I'm bored to hear every time about war, deaths.
Constant.
Yeah, we need to work on life.
Agreed. Agreed. People yeah, there's a system in hand that's very interested in us being paralyzed in fear.
Yes.
And that's what we're seeing on a global scale.
That's another big lesson and subject.
It is a very big subject, and not to get into depth with it, but this is what's happening. And why? It's very basic, right? Because when the human being, when the mind is in fear, it's either gonna fight
Or fly.
run, right? Flight, or get paralyzed.
So we're talking about energy, and that energy is making a cycle, and that we have to take care of that. So there's another part that we can focus on. For example, the 3 R's: reuse, reduce, recycle. And we have to focus on that, because we think that it's something not important. Here in Greece, we have a big problem on that, because this is actually the sustainability that we're talking about. That we have to learn how to reuse, how to reduce all garbages, and how to reduce consumption, and how to recycle. And when we say recycle, we don't only talking about paper and this stuff, batteries and all that. We have to understand that a lot of things, they can be reused, even for making artistic artwork, even for making artwork. I have made a project a few years ago that our students, they have found, I would say, garbages. at their school, and they made artwork. It was great. I loved it because it was really creative. They understood how they have to follow this rule that the universe, the environment has as a basic to recycle. And that was a target for me, and very creative. The last part I would like to talk about, it is about stream. We always talking about STEAM, science, technology, mathematics, engineering, arts. This is the A, and now we can talk about stream. That is, we have added the reading. Reading means that we comprehend, that we have a text and we can comprehend what is it talking about. And this is something that we lack nowadays. We cannot understand we cannot communicate actually. We have a text, we read it, but we cannot understand the whole meaning. What is it talking about? What do I have to work on? And that's why we have a difficulty in experiments. Because when we have comprehended something, you go forward. Now, what do we do? Even in our science, in biology, the pharmaceutical says you have to work on that. You have to work on Alzheimer's. You have to work on myocardiopathy. You have to work on, I don't know, a problem that we're gonna produce a medicine, and everything is okay. But the real thing is that we have to comprehend and then to go forward. We have to experiment because it's a need. We want to see what's going on and to evaluate and to proceed.
Yeah, critical thinking is fundamental. I also think that parents have to talk to their kids. So if they don't have that,
That's difficult.
that's it. I think parenting is real.
Yeah. It's difficult.
And I think you're lucky if you get a decent teacher that could teach you that.
It's a big subject because we don't prepare students to be parents. The students that they want to be parents, or they have the potential to be parents.
I think it has to do with how do you communicate with people. And it doesn't have to be your kids. I mean, this is with everybody.
Yeah, I can
If
understand.
a child doesn't have that at home where they're talked to and engaged with, chances are they won't have that training. If children are growing up with a machine in front of their faces only because their parents are overworked, whatever the freaking excuse is, right? We all have 24/7 in this world. And we could see some people doing amazing things there and some are not. So it's not about, oh, here in Greece, oh, poor me, oh, this, oh, that. There's amazing people all over the place. And I think people have to decide where they want to be. I think mediocrity is painful and really boring. And I think that causes a lot of blame and pain. I think empowerment and taking responsibility for oneself is also painful. But guess what? In the long run, you might say, hey, I lived a life. So it's a choice. It's about energy. That's what I think, right? It's about energy. The way where focus goes, that's what grows. It's something that we all have to navigate. And if we don't have that curiosity within us, it's an issue. So it goes beyond parenting, honestly. But since we're talking about little ones, it's good when kids are engaged with parents. So they go into school having that background, right?
Yeah, I agree totally with the T capital. I believe that, as I told you, at school we're making tests of life. So where there is involvement and engagement, actually the students grow with it.
Yes. Yes.
Eh,
Always.
and
Not still
that
all.
will make them responsible. The first time you are gonna be irresponsible. The second, the third, the fourth. But then you can mature and you can understand that if you are responsible to anything, you're gonna be a responsible adult. And we need responsible adults. That's why I have entered gamification during the lessons, because I want them to understand that you can have something challenging, you can have something funny. I wouldn't say funny. I would say something interesting. You can have something uh, with creativity, but with all this stuff, you can elaborate. You can have a good thinking, and you can go forward and be responsible. That's the target. We have to start with some targets and say, when those students um are at school, uh, they have to um, access those targets. And not to say they have to learn all this knowledge. They have to be responsible. They have to have critical mind. They have to see the real world. If we see that they're not prepared, we have to help them to be prepared.
Well, yeah, that's the point of schooling, honestly, but I'm not convinced that that's what's going on.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, I mean,
We
that's
don't
where
have
I
to
think
listen.
parenting is important. I mean, I also don't think that listen, when I'm talking about think and believe it, I'm only talking about my personal experience. Like, to me, it was very obvious that my kid is, and to my son and to his dad, like, school is a social place for him to go, engage, um, yeah, and learn, hopefully. I mean, we both, as parents, were very much involved in his education, and not really boring stuff, but more in real life. I mean, we took care of him. We didn't have grandparents or babysitters and things like that. So he was either with me or his son or his dad. And that created, like, he was always with adults, the only kid. He saw the real world. I don't know if that's better or not. But what I do know is that exposure gives information for neuroplasticity to go different ways.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a right or wrong, honestly. I'm not judging that, because I don't think that I'm perfect or my parenting is perfect. And I think at the core end, love is the most important for all of us. And if we're talking about kids or things that I have to face daily with myself, having all this knowledge, it's always about navigating energies, and where is my time spent, where's my attention spent, and that doesn't change as a child or as an adult, especially if you want to be a functional human being.
Your focus becomes your reality.
Exactly. And reality is infinite.
Yeah.
There's a collective reality, of course, that's quite fixed, that we could talk about systems. That's a focused reality that a whole bunch of people said, okay, this is how it is. This is what I have to do. At the same time, we're living in that era, in an incredible time, that it's both exciting and scary, as any new beginnings, as beginnings are, that we are evolving as never before. And I know people tell me, I have this conversation where people are like, history repeats itself. Yes, it does. But we've never evolved to the place where technology was on this level.
Yes.
And and I think we're going through the same industrial revolution, just as electricity came on board, just as all the farmers became factory workers. Now, all these people that we've had in the societies, right? I mean, the biggest issue is like all these brilliant young people graduating universities that don't have jobs, and they won't.
Yes.
It's a big issue. Those 20 something, right? So
But
talking about America, where education is like $500,000, it could be, and you're graduating after years and it's not relevant, right? I mean, if you're a doctor, if you're a scientist, yeah, it is relevant because you need to educate yourself. But all these other things are like, why? All you need is a phone. Was a smartphone, and you could get any information, and curiosity. So curiosity is fundamental
yeah.
because we could educate ourselves. I personally, because I value learning things. It keeps me entertained. I constantly learn. Like but I love it because it keeps me like I like my mind. I have my moments of isolation and staring into space and coming up with paintings. But then there's the other thing that it's so interesting to me. Like, what is this thing that I'm living in? So there's so much like the being, like the universe, like the cosmos, right? Like finding the jewel to life, like, and that takes knowledge. That takes like information of comprehending and what makes sense and what doesn't. And there's a lot of noise out there, so it's also very important to move through the noise, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So that's another.
Sounds very true. Yeah. That's why I'm talking about criteria, because you have to get through all this misinformation and to find the truth and to find what's going on really.
I think we could adopt curiosity. I think it gives us um, enough information to perhaps, with my upbringing, with my knowledge, with my life experiences, that I could have a reality that feels some sort of base. But reality is it's not constant. It's not fixed. It's not static. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
why we are human beings in our environment. And there are a lot of principles behind all that you have just mentioned. Einstein said that, Newton said that, all those scientists, they just understood that there are some principles that we we see them from our aspect. And
only.
yeah, we understand from our aspect, but this is the interesting part of life. And that's why we have to communicate. That's
Yes.
why we go forward, because we communicate and say, my aspect is that, your aspect is that. Now we communicate. You are in New York, I am in Greece. And we say, my aspect from this place of the world, and your aspect from your place, with your way of life, with your experience.
Yeah, I mean, we all have a personal perception of reality and what works for us and
That's
what
the best
doesn't.
part. That's the best part. I love that.
I do
I love
too. I think that that's what's rich. I mean, and we have a system because we are many or whatever it is that wants to contain the whole thing in one way of being. And I think that's where we're running into issues.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. Um, there is a technique that we use in the classroom that it's called dilemma-based learning. It's nice because we have a subject and there is a dilemma there. There's no true or false. It's just a dilemma. And the students, they have to develop their criteria and to decide which part they're gonna follow. And it's very interesting because after that, there's a discussion and you can hear their aspects, how they decided to conclude to that answer. And it's very, very interesting. I love that part. I use it a lot. And it takes only a quarter in the whole lesson to talk about a dilemma. And I love it because there is no true or false, and they don't need to know things at that exact time, but they need to see what they can understand from the problem that they face in front of.
This is the way of life.
Yeah, this is about it.
And this is what works all the time, right? I mean, this is life. I think the biggest issue that we have in life is that life should be easy and, without challenges. And that's the biggest misconception, because life is only about challenges and growth and meaning and pursuit. Maria, thank you so much.
I thank you very much. It was great. I loved it. It was a great talk.